Greetings metalheads and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I'm back with another new release review, and I am very excited to be reviewing and talking about the new full-length album from California's deathcore heavyweight Carnifex, and this just in time for Halloween with its very seasonally appropriate cover. We've got Necromanteum. Now this album is actually the first Carnifex album that I have picked up as a new release since Slow Death, and that's a couple of albums that I've missed. The previous album was Graveside Confessions. I don't know why, at the time, it just passed me by. I think probably just listening to other things. Similar story before that with World War X or World War X, not really sure. Nothing against those albums, it just passed me by. As I say, the last album that I actually picked up straight from the shelf was 2016's Slow Death. However, I would say that Carnifex are really the unsung heroes of deathcore. And I use that term loosely in a way because deathcore, and I do totally appreciate deathcore is not everyone's cup of tea. Death metal with tons of heavy, weighty breakdowns, in my opinion, what's not to like? But hey ho, I do appreciate deathcore isn't for everyone, but deathcore that's a broad term. There's a whole lot of bands out there that would be considered deathcore, right from bands like Within Destruction or Vulvodynia, through to the Acacia Strain at times, through to Chelsea Grin. However, Carnifex, they are a bit of an unusual one because they incorporate various different elements into their music. There's certainly very significant, should we say, like symphonic and like keys, soundscapes, all sorts of weird and wonderful things going on in the background there. So it's not just cut and dry, brutal, constant breakdown, death metal or deathcore. You've got this kind of unusual merger where you've got elements of typical elements of deathcore with massive, fat, crushing breakdowns. Then you've got these really kind of weird, kind of creepy, trippy keys and orchestral arrangements in the background. And then you've also got a Blackened element as well there. Certainly in terms of the blasting, furious drumming, in those soaring, screeching vocals and riffs as well. There's more than just typical deathcore. And I think that from this particular album, in fact, Slow Death, is where you really started to see prominence of those Blackened elements in there as well. Very talented bunch of chaps, indeed. Very, very talented musicians. We've got full band here, so we've got Scott Ian Lewis on vocals, who is a very good, very adept, very accomplished deathcore vocalist. He has a very good vocal style, and I think that he's almost got a bit of a black metal vocal approach at times, but he can do the real gutturals as well. Standing front and centre there. So alongside Scott, we've got Sean Cameron on drums, an absolute beast of a drummer, absolutely smashing the kit apart. Then we've got Corey Arford on guitars, Neil Timon on lead guitars, and Fred Calderon on bass. Talented bunch of individuals, and this, I have to say, has really, really surprised me of just how freaking good it is. I really do dig the kind of over-the-top, bombastic, crazy orchestral elements in the background there. There's a whole lot of depth and texture. I think that when they deliver a crushing, freaking massive, monstrous breakdown, it is seismic. I think that over the years, deathcore has struggled and wavered a little bit, but this is the sort of deathcore that we would expect from 10, 15 years ago, with unapologetically massive breakdowns, smashing riffs, calamitous drums. Absolutely fantastic, really stands out. And like I say, you throw in the kind of black metal elements there as well, like Blackened deathcore, not quite as, shall we say, emotive or bleak as a band like The Breathing Process that I've talked about on this channel a little while ago, but definitely definitely brutal. This is brutal stuff, but this is dark, and this is evil. This is evil stuff. So Necromanteum, let's take you through a few of the choice tracks. We kick off with the opening track, Torn in Two, which is an absolute bludgeoner of an opening track. What a way to kick off an album. Freaking colossal, huge riffs. We get a delightful breakdown in there. We've got those kind of weird, trippy keys in there. And of course, it's a very dark song. As is the second track, Death's Forgotten Children, which again, it brings in like elements of Cradle of Filth almost, and in that sort of theatric blackness. Mystic Circle, perhaps. Bands that unapologetically incorporate a very theatric orchestral element to their music. That track, Death's Forgotten Children, is absolute bruiser. Features Tom Barber as well. That is brutal. Real standout in the form of the title track, Necromanteum, is colossal. Talk about breakdowns. That's just an earthquake. A barrage of earthquakes. A barrage of atomic bombs triggering earthquakes. That's what it is. Freaking awesome. We do have a really cool tribute to the late, great Trevor Strnad in the form of Crowned in Everblack, former vocalist who sadly no longer with us from the Black Dahlia murder. And that song does have a serious nod musically, instrumentally, to the Black Dahlia murder. And lyrically, there's a lot of kind of, little nods to album titles from the band as well. Probably my favourite track on the album is The Pathless Forest. That's a really dark song, actually. It's got this kind of very sinister vibe. It's got that big sort of synth, lots of atmosphere, lots of soundscape. And it just sounds really dark. It just sounds really, really quite powerful stuff. And it is a freaking powerful song. Then we get a couple of weighty numbers. How the Knife Gets Twisted. Death metal. Freaking down your throat. Architect of Misanthropy is a pretty barbaric affair. That is much more in the deathcore, kind of standardized deathcore vein. Infinite Night Terror, I should say. Bleed More is that's sort of a more traditional deathcore number. And then we get the rather blissfully barbaric closing track, Heaven and Hell All at Once. Overall, not a massively long album, somewhere in the 40-minute mark, around that sort of time. However, this is start to finish, highly enjoyable, very original, yet modern, up-to-date, current, brutal, extreme metal. Because it's a real medley of deathcore, death metal, black metal, and kind of like the orchestral elements in there as well. A little bit symphonic, if you like. But this is just a fantastic album. And it's really refreshing to see bands like Carnifex, bands like Whitechapel even, or Suicide Silence more notably and more recently, really moving with the times. Not just turning their backs on deathcore, but kind of incorporating different elements in there. Whether it's more traditional outright death metal, or whether it's, more emotive, clean passages, whatever. Carnifex, there is no cleans here. There is no melancholy. There is no somber sadness. This is just furious, crushing death metal. Right up there with the likes of Thy Art Is Murder. Certainly, they are one of the weightier bands among their peers. I certainly think so anyway. But I would say Necromanteum will definitely appeal to any fans of Whitechapel, or of Cradle of Filth, Mystic Circle. If you like any of that sort of stuff, then you're definitely going to appreciate this. This is an absolute beast of an album. Really, really taken me by surprise, to be honest. So tracks to check out the opening track, Torn in Two. Check out the title track, Necromanteum. And check out The Pathless Forest as well. Check them out. So, what are your thoughts on Carnifex? What are your thoughts on death metal? What are your thoughts on deathcore, rather? Deathcore with a twist. What are your thoughts on Necromanteum? If you've not heard the album, I implore you to check it out. It's definitely worth your time, worth the eardrum damage. Thanks for watching, my friends. Please do feel free to share your thoughts and opinions. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations. Above all, my friends, do take care of yourselves and stay freaking heavy.